just to start at the beginning, new moons happen when the moon and the sun are conjunct at an exact degree. So it's like they're literally sitting on top of each other, which makes it to where you have the nothingness that you see in the sky. So immediately, what is happening with this new moon? It is in Libra. Now, Libra is the sign of balance. It's of wanting justice in certain situations. It's also partnerships and our relations to people. It's a lot of seventh house energy. So that can also bring out some balance when it comes to ourselves as well, because we need to balance our shadow with our light at the same time. So there's a lot of balance coming in with this moon. Now, we definitely need balance right now. There's a whole lot of shit going on. But there's a direct opposition to Mars retrograde. I know this Mars retrograde is just having the time of its life, throwing a wrench in every which way when something happens. It's been connected to, I feel, every moon so far in some way. But this one is directly opposing, which is creating this tension because we have this feeling of wanting to be about ourselves and wanting to be about relationships. And it's going to be a big challenge because some of us, yes, we need to be more giving in our relationships, but some of us need boundaries. So it's knowing where you are on the spectrum. Are you the person that is completely out there with your energy and it's all over the place and you're just giving it to everybody and you're completely depleted? This is the place where you need to balance and put up your boundaries and reassess what's going on. If you're completely closed off and your boundaries are so far up, this is where you need to balance being able to be vulnerable, being able to open up and actually put yourself out there so that way you can attract the right people. So that's the first big thing going on. I want to say out, just starting. This new moon has a lot of Venusian energy. It is very tied to Venus right now with the way certain things are going on. Of course, having that opposition really powers it up with Mars. Libra is ruled by Venus, but we also have a grand Earth trine between Venus, Taurus, Uranus, and Jupiter. Now, Venus is in Virgo, Uranus is in Taurus, and Jupiter is in Capricorn. Now, these are very stabilizing energies to have in Earth Grand Trine. They bring a lot of almost structure to a lot of things that might have been really out of whack. And since it includes Venus, this is also tying back to the energy of the moon. It's more Venusian energy. The same thing with Taurus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So we're having all of this energy that is coming in. So we need to know the sides of Venus for this moon. We need to understand both the good and the bad aspects of Venus in order to navigate this. Because on one side there's the beauty, there is the love, there is the acceptance and the relationships and being able to step into the love for ourselves and seeing value in certain things. But it can also go in a very dark way. It can go into jealousy. It can go into these places of insecurity and really needing to have all of the attention and taking that from other people and becoming manipulative. Be careful of these energies because it's very strong right now, and it's going to definitely play out in other planets because it's such a heavy influence right now. So anytime you feel yourself kind of teetering towards some of those aspects, realize that you need to kind of rein yourself in and go back the other route, because that can easily happen, especially being frustrated right now, because we have a lot of oppositions and we have a lot of squares. So that's going to create a lot of tension where we're trying to work through stuff. Because anytime we have oppositions and anytime we have squares, these are challenges. We need to overcome these in order to progress, in order to evolve into the next stage where we are actually becoming the better version of ourselves through integrating different parts we are learning. Now, with this Earth Grand Trine specifically, since it's including Venus, Uranus, and Jupiter, of course, I already talked about Venus energy, but coming to Uranus energy, we've been dealing with this Taurus-Uranus energy for a while now, which is in retrograde. It's causing us to really take stock of what our values are, what we deem as important, what we feel is actually valuable to us, and it's ripping away what isn't. And if we don't understand what is actually of value and we are having things taken, then we're going to be getting extremely frustrated. And this is connected to Jupiter in this trine, with Jupiter's very expansive energy, very spiritual energy. And depending on what you're doing with Jupiter, what is going to happen is either you're going to be expanding on your learning and growing and really taking care of business here and being able to see what is the value that you want to bring into your life, what balance you want to bring into your life, or you're going to be swinging the opposite direction where you are fighting it, where you are holding on for dear life to these things that aren't helping you anymore. And it's going to become an obsession. You need to be able to back off, because just like Saturn, Jupiter can bring a lot of heavy lessons if you are not working with it. So it's very important to understand where you are when you're doing this. Like, are you feeling like you're completely fighting a tide no matter what you're doing? If you're feeling like you're trying to dig through a freaking mountain while you're doing stuff, more than likely you're pushing against what stuff is trying to be like kind of uprooted. Because having these different energies, the structure that's trying to be built right now is what's going to help your health, what's going to help your routine, what is going to change what you value, what you're spiritually connected to, your authenticity. And it's also going to expand your mind in a way that the structure you build is sound. It's what you are going to base the rest of what you're creating off of. So being able to use this energy during the new moon to create what you want to make as a foundation is very important. You can really use the power of this grand trine to power up what you want to do at this new moon. Now, this grand trine is going to be with us a bit longer because Jupiter and Uranus don't really move that quickly. Venus is going to be in Virgo and making this trine for at least a few more days, if not a little longer. Because the trine with Venus is kind of right in the middle of Jupiter and Uranus. So that's, even though it moves a little quicker, it's still going to stay in the trine. So we're going to have the energy of this trine for a bit after the new moon. So continue, sorry about loud noise, people in their cars. But, so continue to work on this energy, especially after the new moon, because this is going to be creating openings. It's going to be creating that feeling of, okay, what is balanced, what is not balanced, and you're going to be able to see it, because we actually have this opposition happening between Mercury retrograde and Uranus, which is part of that trine. So we know Mercury retrograde's in Scorpio right now. We're already kind of dealing with this energy. And it's making us sit and do what is opposite of what we usually do. If we're usually a very introspective and very private person, what's happening is it's causing this opposite effect where you are purging and you are just giving it to everybody. And it's almost like this effect, is this how you, it's almost like even though you're not understanding it, it is showing you how you need to heal right now. And the reason this is so challenging is it's opposite of what you're used to in your structure. It's part of this uprooting that's happening with Uranus. And it's going to feel so frustrating and so confusing at times because it is so new. And then the people that are so used to speaking but not truly going inside and doing work are being pushed to go internal. They're being pushed to actually face the things that they're refusing to face. So depending on which side of the coin that you're falling here, if you are doing tons of work and you've been the person that's only been keeping to yourself and doing tons of work, all of a sudden the floodgates are going to open and your stuff is going to be out there for everybody. But if you're the person that hasn't been doing the work and you've been ignoring it, you're going to be pulled to have to do this so you can uproot what doesn't work, and stuff's going to be getting pulled out of your lives to teach you this lesson. And with Mercury, we have to think of the energy of Mercury. It is communication. It is being able to articulate what we are thinking. It's a very fast-moving planet, but also it deals with the hands. It deals with creativity. In using what we're learning through whatever deep, dark, secrets, trauma, whatever is coming up that we're having to work through right now, using our hands to create, or using our speaking abilities to orate, so that way we can actually flush out what needs to be done, is very important right now. Whether you paint, whether you draw, whether you write, whether you create videos, even if they're just for yourself, and you just talk and talk and talk and get it out. Being able to release is so important for transformation right now, because Scorpio is all about transformation. So, that was a whole lot, and Mercury's a whole lot, coming in with this new moon at the same time and this opposition. The other opposition we have is also part of the Grand Trine, and this one's between Venus and Neptune. Now, Neptune is still retrograde in Pisces. It's still doing the ripping apart delusions, it's still lifting the veil, it's still forcing us into our spiritual aspect and inside. With this opposition to Venus and Virgo, it's the challenge of being so in the mind and so in ourselves and so in the spiritual sense, and then having to somehow work that into the love that either we're giving other people or that we're giving ourselves. And this is daily. This is something you're having to do each day under this influence, and it becomes very frustrating because it's almost like you cannot get away from it, and it can affect your health if you do not work on it. If you ignore it, it can start creating anxiety, it can create depression, it can create the different feelings of insecurity and like you're stuck. It can also really affect your sleep, because the Piscean energy is a lot about dreams. It can be creating nightmares and night terrors and tons of other things coming up because you're fighting the energy. If you're working with it and you're using it to learn how to infuse self-love into yourself by understanding the unconditional love aspect of Piscean energy, then what you're going to be able to do is use this Venusian aspect to really go in with that Virgo energy and understand the details without tearing yourself apart. You're going to be able to go in and actually do this internal work where you understand, where you're actually piecing together the parts that you didn't get before. Now, knowing that energy, And the thing is, I want to go over these tough aspects first, and then because there's way more of the tough aspects, and then I'll go over some of the good ones at the end to kind of tie it together as well. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to tell you guys how to work through the tough ones and how to navigate them, as opposed to feeling like you're stuck with this. So, the next thing, we all know these are the squares I'm going to talk about. I've talked about the oppositions, which means they're directly opposite each other. The square is another challenge. This one can bring actually a little more irritability than the opposition, because that's more of like a tug-pull kind of thing and understanding the energies. With the square, it's almost like a fight. And we have Mars retrograde still, as it has been, forming squares to all the planets in Capricorn, which is Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. So once again, Mars is sitting there, retrograde, stuck in the mud, not really able to move, and getting very irritated, and sending this energy over, hey Jen, over to these planets that are trying to create massive change, not only within us, but within the actual like whole consciousness here. Like it's really like going across everyone with this. So with Mars doing this fun square to all of these, what's happening is the irritation that's coming with the uprooting of these structures. Like, why do I gotta keep doing this? I've been doing this forever. And it's almost like you're getting tired. You're losing energy. Oh, thank you, Jen. But with oh, and if you guys see those little crowns by your name, that means you actually have Amazon Prime. So if you see little crowns, that's just saying that you have Prime. And you can subscribe for free with a Prime. Like you have a free like subscription with a Prime, like you can subscribe to me. That's what that means. Because now you can see it now because I can get subscribers. But back to what I was saying with this. So I'm talking about the blue crown, not the diamond. The diamond means you're VIP. But back to what I was saying with the Mars squaring these planets. We're all growing very frustrated. We are feeling very stuck in a lot of ways because we've been really trying to dig through. We've been really trying to understand all this work we're doing because it's hitting very major aspects of our lives. It's really just not only on a personal level, but on a large scale. Things are falling apart. Things are being ripped up. Things are changing. People's views are like all over the place and scattered. It's a very major energy to have, and it causes a lot of frustration. It causes a lot of anger and irritability, and it just causes a lot of stagnation because there's no forward momentum. So, hey Kat. So, with all this going on, we have to realize that we cannot control this global scale stuff because it's been going on for a while, especially when all these planets were direct. We were already seeing tons of stuff getting ripped apart already, but now that they are direct, and we have this Mercury retrograde happening, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, but this is really starting to get under our skin because we're watching what's happening around us and it's kind of distracting us. We need to be careful of distractions right now. because that's very easy when we're stuck in a stagnant energy. And the only way to get out of this stagnant energy is, like I said before, you need to create. You need to pull from this space where you're learning, where things are falling apart. And then you need to get it out of you so that it's not just staying in the mind, so that it's not just spinning. Because since we can't act physically, well, most of us, some of us actually do have to act physically. Some of us have to step up and start acting. Like I said, it's going to be opposite of what you're used to. Whatever you usually do, it's going to be pushing you into your uncomfortable zone and making you do the opposite. So a lot of us, for say if you're a private person and usually you don't share your views, you're going to be randomly just like word vomit, like just saying everything that is in there that you've been holding down and not understanding why the hell it's coming out. It's almost like you're going to be in the back of your mind listening to yourself, like, okay, what's going on with my mouth right now? I feel like my mouth's been taken over. And the thing is, you have to understand that this energy is purging energy. It is trying to make you purge. So, any which way that you are allowing it to come out, because the thing is, if you're not in control, if you are not conscious of what you're doing, it's going to easily override you. It's going to be confusing. You're not going to know what's going on with your emotions. You're not going to know why certain things are coming out. You have to be very conscious. You have to be very grounded. And that's where you can use this earth energy. Because in using this earth energy, it can really help pull you down into the structure you're trying to create and help make you feel secure. You really need to fall into this earth energy. And in a way, it's a huge blessing that we have a grand earth trine sitting here trying to help us through this energy, because that actually really powers up this earth energy. So the next thing I want to go on to, and this is why a lot of people are going to be feeling this lovely new moon in another way, is because it also is forming multiple squares. It has that opposition to Mars, but it's still forming Okay, is it working now? Okay, thank goodness. I was thinking I was gonna have to restart my whole freaking thing. Okay. What was the last thing you guys heard? Because I'm not sure. See, I told you guys I wasn't gonna get frustrated with anything with technology because it's like, if it happens, just gonna breeze through it and try to figure it out. Okay, so I was talking about the new moon and the squares that are happening. So I'll just kind of try to backtrack because I'm not sure how far I got into it because I kind of went off on my thing that I do once I start talking. It just all starts kind of flowing in because none of this is written. I literally just pull it up for you guys when I get on here and start talking. So it's pretty much whatever just starts flowing into me while I'm talking. Um, so the new moon, which is both the sun and the moon conjunct together, both are squaring all of the planets in Capricorn. And this is creating a lot of frustration because we already have that frustration with the Mars retrograde right now, and I already talked about how that's playing into those planets. But the way this new moon is playing into these planets with this square over here is pretty much it's creating this feeling that we really, 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 really want balance. We want balance in our relationships. We want balance within ourselves. We want balance with our emotions. We want balance with our heart's desires and what we can do. But what's happening is we're so unsure because a lot of this energy is very confusing and it's making us feel like we don't really know how to move forward. And in some cases, we feel like we can't move forward because we're so stuck with that Mars energy making all those squares. Now, with these planets being squared off with the new moon and feeling like things are changing, we might be feeling this need to really hang on with this new moon instead of letting it go. And the reason for that is we feel like this structure is what balance we have, it's what comfort we have, it's what we know. And some of these things that are going to be letting go are relationships. It's going to be letting go of certain views we have on ourselves that we felt were protective and that were self-loving because of doing the balancing work. And it's very hard to get into a space when you don't understand if it's good for you or not. If you don't understand where it's coming from, it creates a lot of anxiety because when you're looking at what's happening and feeling like so much is changing when all you want is this structure and balance, you want things to even out, you want things to be in a place where you can create what you feel would be your safety. And plus you want to be fair. It's like seeing anything that's unfair happening, whether it's in your personal life or out in the world, it's going to create this great feeling of injustice. Like, what the hell is wrong with everybody? And that in itself is going to create another layer on top of what you're dealing with personally. So all of these things are coming to a head, being paired off very powerfully because, like I said, there's opposition literally between New Moon and Mars. So they already got that going on where they're doing that with each other. But then both of them are squaring all three of the planets in Capricorn. So there's this huge energy that is pushing major change to these structures that are not serving us. And like I said, with Jupiter's energy, we already know the expansion of spirituality and everything I talked of before. And Pluto is a lot like the Scorpio energy with Mercury. It's transformation, it's understanding these deep aspects of yourself that have been grounded within you, that have been so deeply rooted that trying to rip them up actually causes this phoenix rebirth feeling because there's so much of it and it's so heavy. Now, thank you, loud motorcycle person. But, and then with the Saturn Capricorn, it's being able to see, like, in your life, where have you let people run over you? Where have you let authority be something that was abusive to you? Where can you actually work towards taking that away? Because with the Saturn Capricorn energy, Saturn and Capricorn are actually like the home. Like Saturn is home in Capricorn. So this is the energy of like the law, the work, the perseverance, the karma, just so much. And with this moon, a lot of us might actually be feeling kind of ticked off at the balance, because what if we're getting back some karma from some really old thing that Mercury's deciding to bring in right now, because it's like, hey, this is the perfect time for you to deal with this. And it can be very frustrating if we're already dealing with all this other stuff. So, oh hey babe. So, this energy is going to be hitting us tomorrow. And this new moon is actually happening at 12:31 PST. So wherever you are with, time changes like Eastern, wherever you are, this is going to be happening kind of afternoon time. Like we're going to be really feeling these energies very strongly in the afternoon. So if you're getting up, if you're at work, wherever you are, and you're feeling like all of a sudden this like dump on you out of nowhere, you're kind of like, oh my god. Remember, this is hitting at a middle of the day or later in the day kind of feel. This isn't going to be nighttime when we're going to sleep. This is like, us really having to deal with this heavy thing that feels like we're getting smacked with some karma that we might feel is very imbalanced, because it's a square. It's not a positive, helpful aspect. It's a challenge. So when this happens, you have to be able to rein in your emotions. You have to realize that instead of allowing that to overrun, you need to quiet and try to tune into your intuition with this. You need to see what you're being pulled to actually create. Because whatever you're being pulled to create right now is what the focus should be, not the focus on the tension, not the focus on the external world and all of the anger it's making you feel. There's going to be plenty of people that aren't doing any of this work or understanding any of the energies, that are going to be going around and doing more than enough damage by not understanding what they're doing. And you have to realize that's not a reflection on you, because a lot can be projected, especially with this Piscean energy. People can decide that they just want to reflect everything they're not working on you. And it can be very frustrating. It'll make you feel like, what is wrong with me, when there isn't. You're doing your work. You're trying to figure out what's going on. You're acknowledging what you're working on and you're working through it. And it's hard when you have outside influences trying to come in, especially from relationships, since this is in Libra. Any kind of partnerships, whether it's friends, family, romantic, work, whatever it is, coming in and trying to tell you what you need to be doing, because you're creating a new structure within yourself and around you. You're creating a very stable foundation by doing this work. If someone's coming in and trying to tell you what the heck you need to be doing, it's going to create some friction, and you need to be able to rein that in, because with that Mars directly opposite that, it's going to be so easy for flare-ups. It's going to be so easy to fall into that irritability and just be like, you know what, well, screw you. And it's like, you don't want to do that. You want to be able to transmute that energy and be able to be more in control. This is a lot about learning control. It's a lot about learning patience. It's really pushing us to our limit here to be able to work through this energy. So like I said, I was going to go through all the hard aspects first. Like, of course, the grand earth trine I talked about is a positive aspect. That's really helping us stay grounded in this energy. It's really a blessing we have that. So what's really good here is Venus in Virgo, as I've spoken of earlier, is actually creating a trine to all 3 planets in Capricorn. We need this. We need this help right now because this is very loving, serviceable energy because it's Venus Virgo. It's like really trying to create this love outwards because Virgo is the sign of service, it's of duty, it's of what we put outside of ourselves for others, but also our health. And this making a trine to all 3 of these planets in Capricorn that are creating this new structure, it's really pushing for our structure, our internal structure, to be that of love, to be that of really detailing out every little piece of ourselves and finding a way to love each piece as we're going through and uprooting these things. It's helping us see the details and the beauty in the details. And it's also helping us realize that these relationships, we're able, since Virgo is also ruled by Mercury, it helps us compartmentalize. It helps us kind of be more objective. Because when these feelings are coming in, this confusion, we can use it to kind of become objective of the relationships that are coming in and trying to tell us what to do. We can step back and see, like, okay, they're coming in because of the place they're in, not because of me. So being more in that energy and using it while still working on yourself and understanding that certain things are out of your control and being able to surrender those to this feeling of what can I do in my day today? What can I do that actually has an impact that I'm doing, as opposed to the worry, as opposed to just putting more worry out. That worry isn't helping anything. You can process your emotions. Don't repress them. Allow them out. If you need to cry, cry. Whatever you need to do to get certain things out, don't repress. Allow them to come out. But at the same time, don't become stuck. Don't make that your day today. Make it to where you allow yourself release, and then you allow yourself some movement. And it's not going to be this crazy movement with how Mars is sitting in that energy. It's going to be a movement within, and it's going to show without you actually having to put all this extra effort into it. Because feeling all this tension of you needing to do something and people telling you need to do something is more than enough to drive anyone insane. But if you're more in this energy here where you can actually tidy up, like make a little clear space for yourself, because if you clear clutter away and you have your own like little space where you know where you can just rest, you can relax, it'll be really good for your mental and emotional health to be able to pull yourself completely away from distractions. And this will really help with the grounding energy that we need. So, that's a really good one. We need that. We need all those trines. So, the next one I want to talk about, since we have all those squares, I want to talk about this sextile that is in between Neptune as well as Jupiter and Pluto. So, like I was saying before, being able to use the energy of Neptune in the positive way, in the way that's bringing love, that's bringing our dreams forward, that's helping us understand compassion and things outside of ourselves, and the dreamlike qualities, being that sextile between that expansive planet, but also that planet of transformation and this deep pulling out of things. It's almost like we're able to remove, because Pisces is also the subconscious. It's being able to go more deep into our subconscious and bring that love, just like how that Virgo energy is trying to bring that love into this change. But it's a more broad, loving aspect into the change. So using both those loving energies, even though we're facing all these challenges, is what is going to really help us if we can stay in that energy. And it's a lot of what I was talking about earlier with the Venusian energy, like which side are you going to fall on? And we also have a trine between the Mercury retrograde and the Neptune retrograde, which, Scorpio Pisces. This also has an effect where you can go, it's like, Pisces subconscious, but this Scorpio energy is this, like I said, the deep transformative energy. It's flushing out the secrets, not being able to avoid things that have been there for so long, and bringing these things out to the surface and being able to face them. And being able to face them with love, because that is something we really need. And having that trine, that's going to be there for a little bit. Like, I'm probably a few days also, like this grand trine. So like the rest of this week, maybe into early next week, we're going to be able to be using these energies to really work through this. And then we also have a sextile. Like, Mercury is really trying to help us out here. Like, believe it or not, even though Mercury's retrograde, it's actually trying to help us out here. It's actually a very good Mercury retrograde, with it being in Scorpio, because this energy is actually very helpful if you can use it correctly. And we actually have a sextile to the Virgo Venus. And this is making, once again, like that Pisces energy, that loving Venusian energy coming in, but being very dutiful in nature with Virgo, being able to actually organize our thoughts, being able to bring everything down and make plans, and being able to understand. And this is going to help that action, being able to help us verbalize, because like I said, Virgo is also Mercury ruled. So we are having this energy of Mercury being connected together with another sign that's Mercury in nature, and bringing love into this deep uprooting and this deep understanding of ourselves, and helping us communicate it in a way that's organized, in a way that makes sense, in a way that's objective and grounded. And it's also going to help us with creating, because being able to use our hands in a way that's very earthy, and like for some of us, maybe even doing different projects outside would be very beneficial and actually help us be more in that grounded energy that we really need in order to create. For others of us, it's literally just creating, like letting that love come out and planning time for yourself and planning space for yourself so you can create, making that a priority, making your health a priority, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, whatever you're feeding yourself is very important, because you're taking that in right now and it's going to affect everything. And having another trine here is Venus and Uranus, which this is really good for us because it's going to bring this softness to all of this that we've been feeling with this Uranus Taurus energy, just like really like putting this beeline on what do you value, and really like digging in and like bringing in all of this like unexpected change out of nowhere. It's going to bring in this energy where we're finding the beauty in the change. Like I was saying with Virgo, the details are important. We're actually starting to look at the details of the change and how it's actually affecting us for the better, because we can see the smaller things and how it's affecting us. And it helps us be more grateful. It helps us actually go day to day and be able to, in a way, if you need to write a gratitude journal and see the little things, it'll start helping you come more into yourself as opposed to feeling so externally depleted. And that's very good. Whew. I think I did it, guys.